Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Deal with Danny Brown. I have a special guest, one of my best friend, longtime, lifelong friends, Jay Sky Walker. Jay Walker, he's had a career in the NFL with the New England Patriots and the Vikings. I grew up with him at Rancho Park, Cheviot Hills, played sports together through high school, went to school. He ended up being a superstar at Howard University, won the national championship, was the college player of the year. Again, played some football and then pivoted after football to a great career in politics. He's worked on the House of Delegates back down in Maryland near D.C. for 14 years. He's also an ESPN sports analyst, both for college baseball and college football. This is a busy guy. Got a great family, Monique, his wife, his 3 kids. I love Jay, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Get into a lot of personal stuff, but hopefully you'll enjoy a little taste of our background and tune in. You can always find Jay at JWalker5101 on Instagram or Jay Walker on Facebook. Jay Sky Walker, you can Google and get his info. Hope you enjoyed the episode. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Danny Brown with The Deal. I have a special guest here today, one of my longest old-time best friends, Jay Walker. What's up, Jay? How you doing, man? All the way from D.C.?
DB, what's going on, tight end, man? Good to see you. I finally made it. I'm on the deal. I've done a lot of life, but if I make it on the deal after seeing all the other guests you got there, I guess I'm doing all right for a sick one.
I was hoping you were going to help my ratings, especially on the East Coast, so hopefully you'll pick them up. But for people that don't know, Jay Walker, I don't even know where to start. Jay Walker and I went to elementary school together, high school together, played sports together. We've been friends for 40 years. Plus or minus. Sorry to age us. But Jay, you're one of the greatest guys I've known. I don't know where to start except sometime in the 80s at Cheviot Hills Park, you and I won a championship, one of our first championships together. And I don't know, that was pretty awesome on the Chargers. We could start with that.
Man, give it up for Steve Moss, man.
Steve Moss,
Steve Moss, man. He was on us. He stayed on us way back then.
He was ahead of his time. We had a serious West Coast offense in football.
Yeah, we're like in third or fourth grade. He's telling us not to stay out past curfew.
Yeah.
Curfew is, don't eat hamburgers and all this other stuff, man. Moss was great, man. Over at Cheviot, the Cheviot Hill days. Those are some great days, man. Now, during that intro, you talk about how long we've known each other. It's like, I think I might have been there, like when you kissed your first girl. That game is
I think you definitely were
Avenue. Yeah. So, look a little nervous, Dan.
This is a family
got
show,
better.
Jay. We're not going there.
It's been the bottle.
So we've known each other a long time, Jay, and I'm going to just kind of go back. You've had a long, storied athletic career, then you pivoted into a business career, and a sports analyst at ESPN, and a political career. You live in D.C. You have a beautiful family, beautiful wife, Monique. You definitely outpunted your coverage with Monique. But now you've got 3 beautiful children. Your daughters are athletes. Your son's an athlete. Everyone's doing well. But where do we start this story? I mean, you grew up in L.A. Why don't we just start with, hey, you grew up in L.A. I've known your parents my whole life as well. Your dad is sort of an iconic, legendary guy in L.A. and was always around all our games. But why don't you start with growing up in L.A. and sort of how you got into sports and how that became sort of a huge part of shaping who you are.
Yeah, man. I rarely sit back and smell the roses. I just always think about I try to, like when you play pro ball, like one of the things you rarely do is smell the roses because you're so competitive and you're always competing and you want to know what's next and how you're going to get better. But, since I've gotten out of sports per se, it's like I go back and just reminisce and I don't take anything for granted. My job at ESPN, I don't take it for granted. So saying that, like, if I go back to LA, man, it's like, you start, obviously, Cheviot Hill's meant a lot to me, and it was different for me because, you guys were on the west side and, I lived on the west side of town for the black folks, part over by Crenshaw, but it wasn't like Westwood, like you guys were living Westwood.
You were at the Shaw.
So it was kind of it was different because like I would catch the bus or get dropped off having to drive, 40 minutes to get to Cheviot. And then when I got there, that's why I believe, racism is taught. We were all boys. We were all, I think, I probably didn't know the difference between black and white, so maybe second grade, which is a lot different than my friends. And then when growing up in LA, it's like, I'm coming from the Crenshaw part of town, and you guys are coming from the west side. And And then I'm meeting Jewish people and I'm meeting Persian folks and
Yeah.
all that. And then sports was like the one thing that brought us all together. I mean, it really did. It's like when I played football, I was fortunate enough to be a quarterback and we played together on the Chargers. We were just having fun. And then when baseball, you know, the only thing that got to me a little bit is like the numbers were going down. I continually I started out like 5 brothers on the baseball team. Then it got to 2. But you guys were all my boys, you know, then basketball. So I think, you know, if I look at the Jay Walker story, I tell everybody like growing up in LA had so much to do with it because I came across so many people. I mean, I came across some of the richest people I'm going to meet in my lifetime, some of the poorest people, gangbangers, drug dealers, attorneys, doctors. It was a mixed pot and
everything in between.
You know, having to survive. I mean, we went to uni, Dan. I mean, uni's like the only school in America I think of like I got to get a perfect score on the SAT and also have like a notorious gangbanger going to school.
Yeah. It was a pretty diverse student population at uni high.
It was. You could be whatever you wanted to be.
I try to explain that to Jessica, and I say they don't get it. They don't get it. But it was a big part of what shaped me as well. It's both things. You know, we had kids coming in from all over, all areas, Watts, East LA, every ethnicity, every background. You were coming in from Gramercy Place, man. You were living large in Gramercy Place. Your dad was always at our games. I mean, your dad was a character. Your mom's such a great lady. You know, so tell me about how your parents. You had a 2-parent household that probably had a huge influence on you as well.
Yeah, it was. You know, and it was different because I mean, a lot of people didn't know. Like, you know, I think my mom and dad separated when I was like 3rd grade. But I always tell my friends that like, if you and the mom don't get along, you got to make sure that you're always there for your son. I didn't even know they were divorced until I got to 7th grade. My dad was there. You know that.
Yeah. I didn't know that either.
I'm always there. And so that's what kept me going. But my dad, he was a ball player too. He was tall, bigger than me. He played some minor league baseball, but for him, he was like that business acumen. He always around, and what I miss most is like every Saturday, no matter what game we played on Friday, whether it's baseball or basketball or football, he would always come pick me up at Saturday morning at like 9 o'clock in the morning and just make me drive around the city with him. So if I was out partying with the boys too much, hey, Saturday, I was going to get up. And if you spent the night at my house, like Richard, Tally, and Ed and everybody else, you were going on that drive. And we would literally drive from like Beverly Hills to where we had a lot of friends and his clients that he sold cars to, all the way down to Carson. I mean, all day. And it's like, I hated it, Dan. I hated it. But, man, you know how much I would pay for one more ride with my pops?
I'm sure.
Life lesson in the
life
car.
Lesson, wisdom, business.
Yeah. He taught me on jazz. I had to listen to jazz because, I want to listen to hip-hop. He was that stuff off. And he put on some Duke Ellington, Count Basie. And now I find myself doing the same thing like with my kids, especially, my son. Like, we're driving to all these travel tournaments for lacrosse and basketball. It's like, appreciate more that 3-hour drive to get there, just kicking wisdom to him and little nuggets I've been handed in life to give it to him, and hopefully he'll take some of it.
Yeah, you're passing it down. Well, shout out to Richard Talley and Ed Neely and those guys. I haven't seen them in a while. I love hearing those names. Fun.
Oh, man. Cold Cash Money Crew, man.
Cold Cash Money Crew. That's right.
You might have almost been honorary Cold Cash, Dan. You like to hang with the fellas.
Yeah, I love hanging with the brothers. You know that. So let me fast forward a little bit. You were like a park superstar at Cheviot Hills Rancho Park. We ended up going to high school together at Uni High, which at the time, not now, but at the time was a sports powerhouse. We ended up playing baseball and football together. So we were together year round all the time. But the story that I was going to tell is it always seemed to be that football was your primary sport in high school, and baseball you played, I don't know, it seemed like just because you were good and you had a lot of friends on the team, and it was like, all right, I'm just going to just play and mess around. But then you ended up messing around and getting drafted by the Angels at high school. So I was like, what? This guy's a quarterback. What is it? And then you went. So tell me what happened in high school. You were a superstar quarterback and a solid high school pitcher. Were you throwing mid-80s in high school without even practicing?
Yeah, probably that. Yeah, it was weird. I went to uni, because the school I was supposed to go to was Crenshaw. So I lived in Crenshaw High School District. And so Frank Cruz was like convincing my dad, our baseball coach there was convincing my dad, let him go to uni. My dad was definitely like, yeah, he ain't no Crenshaw kid. Now it's too late. So I went to uni for baseball. And then I'll tell you, I never played tackle football in my life. Never played tackle football in my life. And but I always played, quarterback at the flag league and stuff like that. And so I came to uni, and the only reason I went out for the football team, because they had cheerleaders. They had cheerleaders. Baseball didn't have cheerleaders, and I knew I could throw, could play, and I like basketball a lot. So I figured I was going to play basketball and baseball in high school. And then lo and behold, I go out there and like I'm throwing the quarterback on the B team and seeing your big brother Damon. That was great. And then once that football got in me, I got hooked on it. It was like football just went by the back. I mean, my senior year, I told Coach Cruz, like, man, I'm not even going to play baseball. And he was like, I was like, man, I'm getting this football scholarship. I'm trying to lock down football. And, that didn't go well with Cruz. And he kind of forced me to play. And I'm glad he did, because I played and my number was called. I think I had a decent year. I was 7-2 maybe. We played competitive baseball. West Side defending city champs. And, lo and behold, got drafted. And it was one of those things where like, okay. And I started knowing I was getting drafted. So I was like, okay, well, the boy from Crenshaw about to get drafted, get a little money in my pocket. Not so bad. And my mom was so big on go to college. She went to football. Right. And then Angels said like, oh, we're going to pay you this and we're going to pay for college. She was like, well, I think it's time for you to go pro. So I played minor league baseball.
Yeah, so you played a little minor league baseball, but football was calling you. So you played for the Angels for a little bit. And then it's so funny because we crossed paths so many times and had some similarities. You ended up going to Long Beach.
Yeah, and you were down there.
And I was in Irvine.
UC Irvine.
Right, so we would socialize and meet up and and interesting enough, both of us had our Title IX, and schools dropped the sports programs. So you go to Long Beach, Title IX happens, you have to transfer. You end up going to, Pasadena for a year?
No, it's actually what happened when I played baseball. Like after I played baseball, I came home and like didn't have anything to do. So I was sitting around the house, and Richard Talley, my best friend, he was going to Pasadena. And I just went out there and was like, all right, well, I'm not allowed to play football anymore because I'm playing baseball. And the team was good, but they just didn't have a quarterback. And I'm like, man, let me sneak out here. Who's going to see me playing football at Pasadena City College? And Danny, I go there, and that's when I realized like I was really good in football. Like I'm like junior college All-American. We're beating El Camino, the number one team in the country. And all these letters from like University of Tennessee and UCLA.
Major recruit.
Different. I'm like, wow, okay. And then I got to leave. As soon as the season's over, I go to training camp
for baseball
with the Angels. And then Bill Bavasi, a legendary GM over there, he calls me over there and he's like, Jay, you're a really good football player. I said, I stopped playing football. He's like, no, I came to the game at El Camino. And I'm like, uh-oh. And he's telling me, we can take this money back. You violated your contract. And I'm like, what? And he said, you really want to play football, don't you? And I was like, yeah. And he just said, I'll make you a deal. I'll let you go. But if you ever come back to baseball, Angels get you, period. Yeah. We'll go to court and all this other stuff. And so I said, cool. And then I leave. I get the free pass to go come back. And Pasadena's they're like, you just left. So I ended up having to go to Long Beach State. Coach Allen had recruited me a lot, and a family friend. So I go to Long Beach State, and I'm ready to be the starting quarterback and competing. And then I would have battled for the starting job, Mike McCoy. You remember Mike McCoy? He ended up being the Chargers.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, he was a Chargers head coach, and we would have battled for the quarterback spot. But and then when Long Beach drops, I go to Howard, and I think when Long Beach drops, I go to Howard. My life just really changes.
Everything changed. So now we're getting to the good stuff. So you end up at Howard. You end up being the college player of the year, undefeated, legendary. The name Sky Walker is born. Mayor of DC. Tell me a little bit about some of your best memories. I know you played against the legendary Steve McNair from the conference championship or national. You ended up outplaying him.
Aaron McNair,
Aaron McNair, Sky Walker.
Yeah, when I took my recruiting trip, to Howard, and I saw how I just fell in love with the place. It was just phenomenal. And I told the coach, like he put in some tape of the previous year where they played Alcorn State. And I said, man, if I come here, the only reason I'm going to come here is if you give me an opportunity to play against that guy. And he was that good. And I was just that cocky. That So I said, if you put him on the field with me, he's not going to outplay me. I've never been outplayed by another quarterback. Might have lost some games, but I could handle that. And so lo and behold, I get to Howard, and the guys picked me up from the airport. One of the assistant coaches, Ron Springs, he said, "Did you say you wanted to play Aaron McNair?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, damn it." I said, "I didn't want to see that guy until I was watching him on TV in the NFL. Now I see him next year because you want to play him. Well, you beat him." And that was always my motivation. Like, got to beat him. He was Aaron McNair. And then my first game at Howard, my first home game, I threw 6 touchdowns in the first half.
Nice.
Sky Walker. And then it became Sky versus Air. And we played him, and it was a shootout. I think we jumped up 38-6 on him. He came back because I hurt my wrist, and he's coming back. And I'm like, my goodness. And we beat him by 3. And then next year, we do it again. So it's like they create a classic. They actually want me and McNair to play in St. Louis, neutral site for this Gateway Classic. Sell place out, and it's the two, I remember George Michael did a special saying the 2 best quarterbacks may be from HBCUs, and we beat them again. But I one by that one was I sprained my ankle the week before, and I'm doing rehab, and then they're like, he's not gonna be able to play, and I'm like, I'm not missing this game. This senior year, I'm trying to go to the league, staying out, and so we get off the plane, and they're like, oh well, BET wants to do an interview with you guys. And so I'm like, okay, I'm big time, got my suit on.
BET, baby.
Sports information. We get in the limo, and we're at the limo, and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for this. And as I'm ready, we get to a red light, and I'm like, okay. And the light turns green, and like the limo doesn't leave. And I'm like, hey, what time we have to be there? They're like, oh, well, we got to wait. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then I look to my right, and then here comes Steve McNair in his SID. And like, I'm ready to go to war, and they got both ride in a limo together. It's only a 5-minute ride, and he's got his SID there, my sports information. And Dan, the whole time I'm telling you, I'm like this, man. I mean, I'm not saying 2 words to him, right?
You have your game face on already.
Yeah, like this is a setup, and he was kind of used to it. And I was like, I'm not moving my seat. I had the best seat. So we get to the TV station, and Dan, I want to tell you, man, I went in. I mean, all those years of hanging with Crip Daddy Millard, hanging with Fat Ed Neely, with Dirty Dave McCoy, all the bagging that we used to do back in the day, and the practice talking. I mean, it came out. I mean, I said everything. I was watching Muhammad Ali at that time, and I think I said, like, we're so different. They asked, what's the style of play? And I'm like, we're way different. I'm like, I'm light-skinned, he's brown-skinned. I'm city, he country. He rural. I'm like, they're all corn. I'm Howard. I'm going in. And you know what? He never forgave me for that. Never forgave me. And it was like, we're in the NFL. He still carried a little chip on his shoulder.
He was pissed.
And it wasn't until after he got out the league that he came up here, and a couple of our buddies put us together. And in order to get right, he was like, only if you drink with me. And when I tell you he tried to drink me under the dang table, he drank me under the table.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
he was a big guy.
We got cool after that. After that, it was all cool. It was love. But long story, but that was an Aaron Skywalker.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I was at a few years.
And here's what counts, Dan. Here's what counts. See, I brought this for you. See, this is what he was mad at.
Is that the player of the year?
This was the 1993 FCS Sports Illustrated 1AA Player of the Year.
There you go. He got
it in 94, but he wasn't getting it in 93. So it was worth it. Rest in peace, Steve. That's my man.
Rest in peace, man. A legend. I also just wanted to say congratulations because you made the Black College Hall of Fame. Was that last year or a couple years ago? So that's pretty amazing.
Me at Hall of Fame and Howard Hall of Fame. Still trying to get to that Black College Hall of Fame. That's the list. Those are the dudes. I think I'll get there one day. But,
So anyway, you had a storied college career. You get drafted by the New England Patriots. You go to the league. So you played for New England. You played for Minnesota. That's about the time you got married. I remember we went to your wedding. You played also in Europe because it was NFL Europe. So that was soon after that. After sports, what do you got?
I got more gifts for you. This is proof that Danny Brown was at my wedding.
There it is. Was that 93?
Can you see who's in the picture there? That's
Josh Woods, Dave Meeser, and
Josh Woods, me and you. So we go way back, folks. That's why I was like, Danny Brown was my boy. You're a real one. That's why I'm doing the show.
Well, you got to admit, I want to know who was your favorite receiver and best receiver all the way through NFL.
You were woo! Put me on the spot. Can I say my high school receiver? We played together, but you were what? You had that stretch where you had what? 4 straight touchdowns for tight ends.
Something like that. I think it was
You
6
were
games.
rolling,
Well,
yeah. And then from Cheviot, I mean, wherever we were, we always found a way to connect. We
we
always
did. There was
connected,
a
man.
lot of touchdowns in our past.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
and I'll tell you what everybody should say, Dan. I mean, to be a white dude, you're a really good athlete.
oh,
That's
thank you.
say be a
And
white dude.
Jewish.
You weren't the best Jewish athlete. Now the guy was really good. Who was
Rabbits.
a kicker from not a kicker from Palisades, real fast dude, played baseball.
Oh, Jay. Yes, from
No,
Hamilton.
from Pally, Larry Israel.
Oh, Larry Israel. Another good, great.
He can roll.
He's fast.
Yeah.
He is fast. So anyway, you had a good NFL career, and then the life after football, which we can get into now. You transitioned into business. You had Walker Financial, a big financial firm that you've ran, but you also have pivoted and done ESPN sports analyst and a career in politics. Are you running for president, Jay? What's going on? Your House of Delegates. Tell me how you got into politics, and tell me a little bit about life in politics and what that looks like now.
Yeah, it's changed a whole lot. But I would say for me it was, having played in the NFL, and I played for Bill Parcels, I played for Denny Green. My quarterback coach was Brian Billick.
Legendary coaches.
So I started a football camp.
Yes, I remember.
It was a free football camp in Skywalker Flight School is what we called it. And that camp grew. And I remember, having politicians come on out. And so a couple of the local state senators came out, our county exec came out at the time. And, I would invite them to speak to these kids. So our camp grew from 35 kids to 150 kids with a waiting list. So we would give them free dorm, homework assignments, SAT prep. All these pros would come out and college coaches. So, but whenever the politicians would come, they would talk right over the head of the kids. Like the kids were getting nothing out of them. As a football player, if somebody's got your attention, you can tell. And they just weren't having their attention. And one of the guys kind of challenged me. He said, Jay, you know what? You got these kids' attention. You need to run. You got a base. And I was like, really? No, I'm kind of busy with daddy duty and everything. And she called me up. Sorry, my state senator called me up and she said, Jay, there's a seat open. Do you want to run for it? And I said, well, it was on the Central Committee. And I said, all right, sure. And then the bigger seat came up and she was like, you want to run for it? And I told her no. I said, no, I'm fine. I saw a little bit and I didn't like it. And then, okay. And then that night I came and talked to my wife and I was like, you know what? It was itching at me. I mean, ESPN, we don't care where you live, what you want to do. We talked about living in Florida and everything. And then I was like, if I don't do this for the rest of my life, I'm going to say, what if? I'm going to watch people on TV and say, what if? That could have been me. I don't mind running and losing. And you remember me from baseball. I'm a swing and strike three. I'm not going to look at it. So if I miss, okay. But if I win, what could happen from it? Could I make a difference? And and so that was kind of my platform. I had a small business background, sports when athletics were big, and education, trying to give everybody the same type of quality education we had at uni. It became platforms I ran on, and we won, and we've been winning ever since. And 14 years now. So
14 years you've been at 14 years. Yeah, and what district? It's House of Delegates.
It's the House of Delegates in Maryland's 26th district. So right outside of DC, I'm right across the river from Virginia. 2 minutes away from Washington D.C.
Yeah,
so
it's beautiful out there.
We're growing. We're one of the fastest growing jurisdictions here in the capital. Kudos to Monique. She's now a county councilwoman.
That's right.
She's doing her thing. So
Mazel tov to
not bad from Crenshaw, right? Crenshaw and Pico.
Yeah, from the Shaw all the way here to DC.
Yeah.
Skywalker, who knew?
and it was good because, like I said, all my baseball boys, when I came back, it was about that check. Had to raise some money, and y'all came through with the fundraising. So
we had to fundraise always.
And always.
We're always there. So I see the leaves are turning there in Maryland. The leaves are turning. It's fall time. Let's talk a little bit about one of your side careers. You got a lot of side hustles, but you've been an ESPN sports analyst for quite a bit, both college baseball, which is one of my favorite things to watch because I was a college baseball player, and of course, college football. So tell me how your life and how you balance being a sports analyst, then coming home, being the delegate, being dad, being coach, being husband. Talk to me about that, the travel schedule, how you switch from football to baseball season, some experiences around that.
I start off by knowing this: no matter how hard the work is, like I never take it for granted. Dan, I'm one of the few people in the world, and you had one of them on here as well. We get paid to run our mouth. Like Kevin Millar and all that stuff, we get paid to run our mouth. We're not ditches. We're not plowing stuff. We're not going to show all these houses, all these buildings, stuff like that. So with that,
laying bricks,
the work becomes easy. I love what I do. It keeps me close enough to the game. So time management has been my key. And I think
that's huge.
When I was dealing with ESPN, like the college football season goes from September all the way through January 1, pretty much, and maybe January 6. And our role in Annapolis as a state delegate, I start the second Tuesday of January every year. So we're going to be there from January through April. And then college baseball picks up April, May, June.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I run my mouth. I get to stay around sports. I get to see young guys that have the dream that we all had once upon a time in our life. And I get a 2-month vacation where I do absolutely nothing. So not bad. And that's when I really pick up the daddy duty. So time is the key, but I don't take for granted. I'm fortunate to be able to have a job where, every week I get to see somebody that wish they could become an NFL quarterback or wish they could become a minor league baseball player. ESPN commentator. A lot of guys that want to become commentators. So
sure, fantastic. So now, Jay, what are you still on ESPN? Are you still doing it this year?
Yeah. It's the HBCU football season has been pushed to the spring.
Yeah, it's a little weird this time.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm going out of town tomorrow, so that's why I had to get the fade, Dan. It wasn't for you.
Yeah, you did get a nice fade.
Man.
Looking handsome.
I've got
Jay Walker's looking handsome.
I got Georgia State at Charlotte, and then I go to Florida Atlantic, stuff like that. So yeah, we're back.
So one of the key themes I like to talk about on the deal is it's balancing a big career and a big life with a family life, with being a dad, with being a husband. Obviously, it's hard to find balance because when you're doing all these things, they're all full-time gigs. So talk to me a little bit about that. Now, your son, who's taken after you, except playing lacrosse, they just won the national championship in lacrosse. Yeah. So he's going to be a phenom. I noticed you kept him out of football. But tell me a little bit about balance and being a dad and trying to balance that all with a big career, big life, all the other things that come with it.
Yeah. I think, what I've learned is that you can't be perfect. I try to be perfect, but you're not perfect. With my kids, there are 3 different personalities. There's no one size fits all. And you can't raise them all the same way. They're different personalities. And, I've tried to just take my life experiences. I mean, I tried, and I had this long talk with my daughters the other day. It's like, I think one of my faults I might have had might have been I was so influenced by sports and culture that I raised them as a coach.
Got it.
Raised them as a coach. Like there were times I missed being the dad. And so they're like, sometimes I didn't need you to judge me and critique me. I just needed you to be dad.
Yes. That's
like, okay. So I started getting better at that once it went along, Then with my son, I'm raising him a little bit different. So you gotta, and I think coaching has changed. You think about sport and profession. I've talked to coaches and they're like, the days where coaches jump
hardcore
you out. They're like, no, those are gone. It's
the military style's gone.
Yeah, you got to love them up. And once you love them up and they know you love them, and you can say that in the workplace, once your client knows that you care about them and that you got their best interest, then they'll listen to you and follow your direction. So I try to, with my kids, I'm trying to love them up and then to get them to follow my direction. And in life, when I'm in politics, when I'm campaigning, I want my district to know, hey, I care about you guys. It's all about you. And then if you all believe in me, then we can do good things together and grow. And I think that's kind of the way the world needs to go. It's a different place. Can't talk down to people. Nobody's better than anybody. With all the racial strife out there in the world now, you got to be more accepting and understand nobody's right.
For sure. Well, you and Monique have certainly done something right. I mean, you have one daughter's in med school and another daughter's got a scholarship to play lacrosse, and your son is on his way.
Because they're so picky, let me get this right because they'll jump on you. So,
yes, let's get it right. My
oldest daughter played lacrosse at George Washington, and she's now a first-year medical student at Howard. My second daughter is the captain of the debate team at North Carolina A&T down in North Carolina. She's a junior. She'll probably go pre-law in business. And then my son he'll be a freshman He's the top 5 lacrosse player in the country, won the national championship, and he's I try not to brag, but you know how my dad was, kind of like my same, like, oh, he's next. He's next.
I think he's
Mark
more
my
than
words,
next.
America, he's next.
I think he's going to raise the bar a little bit. How big is he now? Is he bigger than you?
He's 15. He's 6'3" and a half, and he's 210 pounds now. And
oh man,
basketball too. So we'll see where it goes. But
yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, tell me some lessons you've learned. You know, you've had a lot of life experience. The world is a very delicate, complex place right now. There's so much racial tension. There's so much political tension. You're sort of right in the middle at the crossroads of all of that in culture, plus layering on sports, business, et cetera. So you're sort of like right at the crux of all of this. Give me some life lessons, some things you know now at your age that maybe you would have wished you would have known when you were starting out in your career. I know that you can go in any direction you want with this,
sure.
but I'd really like to hear sort of your keys, some core thoughts and things that you think about and lessons you've learned along the way.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think when it comes to sports and young athletes out there that want to make it, you got to believe in yourself. I mean, I remember going to football camp, offense, defense in California. Like
offense, defense.
Raise their hand. You remember that? Raise your hand for half the camp. And then out of you half the campers, rest of y'all put your hand down. And then the other half, and he kept reducing the numbers to where we got down to like 2 people with their hands up. And he was like, you 2 are going to be the only 2 that are going to go pro. You're going to be the only 2 going to go pro. And, you know, I get what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
At the time, you know, but I took it as, hey, he didn't say 0.
Yeah, there's a chance.
So what do I have to do to be one of the 2? And that's what I've always tried to do. Try to be one of the 2. You know, I tell everybody in high school, I mean, I was one of the top 5 players on my team. Was I number 1, number 2? Probably not. But I always was putting myself in a position to get that scholarship, to be considered for a football scholarship. It came to football, I want to be considered. When it came to, you know, college, I was like, okay, I want to be one of the top quarterbacks in the country. So you got to believe in yourself, and nobody's taking away hope. When you take away hope and you believe you're hopeless, then bad things happen. I think in the world of what's going on society-wise today, it's like the millennials, I'm an old school brother, but you know, they're different. They're different, right? But here's something about them, though. They're not wrong, though, Danny. I mean, you got to think about it. We put on paper that everybody should have the opportunity for life, liberty, the American way, justice, you know. And when I grew up, it was like I knew I had to be. My dad used to always say, if you're going to play quarterback, Jay, and pardon his words, but you know how he was, he said, you got to be 5 times better than the white guy.
Yeah.
You got to be 5 times better. If you're going to go to law school and you want to get a good job with a law firm, you got to be 3 times as good as the white guy that you're going against.
Yeah.
These millennials, you know what they're saying? That ain't fair.
Right.
Hey, and I'm like, wow. So the stuff that we put up with and dealing with, they're like, no, we're not dealing with that. We're not dealing with having to give somebody a higher salary because I'm black and they're white.
Yeah.
My hat goes off to them because my generation, we might have failed a little bit. We put up with a lot of stuff that maybe we shouldn't have. And I'll say they're not wrong. They're saying if this is the way it's supposed to be, let's make it that way. And you may question the way they go about getting change. But I always say, just think about it. We've been doing a lot of wrong in this country for a long time, and they're just not putting up with it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Well said. That is definitely true. What do you got coming up for the Walker family and the Walker business and everything else? What do we have?
Let me give you a shout out too, Dan.
Oh, okay. Shout out, please.
Yeah, you were ahead of your time. It's like I grew up with a lot of folks, and I think out of my friends, you know, really, and we talk about the baseball guys, like most of their parents probably never grew up around black folks, really. You know, it was a little bit segregated. You know, we didn't segregate till the 60s, and they went to high school, not a lot of them. But, I mean, you were always like, you would take me, and here's a shout I'll give you. When you drove, and I didn't have a car, and you would take me to the house on Gramercy Place.
Gramercy Place, baby.
You would do that.
Get off at Arlington, off the 10, past the Shaw.
It never made me feel bad about it. May hit me up for a little gas money every now and then, even though you had more money than I had, but still. But you were ahead of your time. I mean, like I say, going back to, you know, when you were in elementary school, it was like something about you and your family and the way that, you know, Jack and all your parents raised you. It's like it stood out. And I think there's going to be a new generation, and maybe because, Pop's a musician, so he's always cool. He hung around with folks. Maybe that next generation that's grown up on the West grew up. And that's what I'm hoping, that they grew up, like you, where the parents are more accepting, or brothers realize, some of the brothers are real cool, regardless if they got here by bus or whatever. Let's all get along with it. So you're ahead of your time. Your parents did a good job with you. And I think that the next generation, you'll see some more Danny Browns.
I hope so. I also think, yes, it's a lot of it is nurture, nature, parents, and also it's just the environment. I mean, we grew up at a time where, back in the late 70s in elementary school, where LA schools started busing, and I don't know, it just was normal. It was all we ever knew. No one told us that wasn't normal to have kids from East LA and Crenshaw, Beverly Hills, and Persian all together. We just didn't know that there was that. We thought that was normal. So I think that's part of it. We were just raised around it, and my parents, I'm sure, had a lot to do with it, their values, and being children in the '60s and stuff.
I'll tell you, when keeping it real goes wrong, the change was good. What was not a good idea was making those kids that live in Holmby Hills go to school at Cienega. Remember? They took them from Warner and made them go to Cienega. I was like, I could barely make it to Cienega. How are they gonna make it to Cienega?
Well, right. What happened there? That's when my parents drove to Cienega and went, we're going to private school in the Valley. They sent me to private school for 2 years, and then we went back to Warner.
Yeah. I remember
the brothers don't want to go there. Why are you going to send a nice Jewish boy from the West Side there?
Hey, you weren't alone. That's when the enrollment went up in Brentwood, Harvard School back then, Westlake School for Girls.
Yeah. Funny stuff. That's good. LA history, man. We've been through it all. Well, anything else you want to share here, man? I mean, we could go on for hours. We've had so many fun stories and fun experiences together. But any experiences or any wisdom you want to share before we sign off?
Oh, man, this it's been great, man. Proud of you. Proud of what you've done.
Thank you. Proud of you.
You keep me very entertained, man. And it's kind of funny always hearing you get all the street cred and stuff like that. So have you had Dave Jacobson on yet?
That's a good idea.
Y'all two folks were hilarious.
I should get Dave J on. He does not like press or social media. He's never been on Facebook.
Can we tell him how corny you used to be though? Because you're cool, Danny. So my little Danny Brown story was remember we always take we'd be after practice and we get in the shower and we had those cold showers and
public school.
I'm starting to feel a little breeze.
A little breeze. With the towels that were like paper towels.
Yeah.
And crews would make us take showers. That was terrible. The LA showers were the worst.
Yeah. Then
catching the breeze. We were freezing.
Catching the breeze. And then I remember I showed I was at Long Beach State, some girls across the hall. They saw a picture that I had of us hanging out, whatever.
Oh God, yes, I never
get him up here. So I was like, I never thought Daddy was really a good looking dude, but they called you I guess you were a hunker or something like that.
I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
But now you better take it now, man. We're old. That's all you got is your memories and your legends. So
that's it. You got to just keep up the memories. Well, Jay, awesome having you on the deal, man. Anytime, come back and be on. I look forward to seeing you. Send my love to Monique and the kids. Can't wait to see you guys.
Let me do this one time.
Yeah.
West Side?
All the way from the Shaw to Maryland, House of Delegates, ESPN, and the NFL. On the deal. Peace out, Jay. Talk to you soon, man. Hey, I got to thank Jay Walker again for hanging out and chopping it up with me. It's always a pleasure. One of my favorite people in the world, and I miss him. Haven't seen him over COVID. But thanks. You can always tune in and catch more episodes at The Deal Pod on Instagram or thedealpod.com. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Please subscribe. Leave us a remark. Every remark counts. We're we're in 47 states right now, and also over 50 countries. So we're doing well. Get the word out. Spread the word. Let your friends know. Thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you guys soon. This life for the next one. Watch me. I'm gonna be the best.